okay, it queries if Nollywood is if Nollywood is consciously projecting a one Nigeria, or Nollywood is maybe consciously or unconsciously projecting a divided Nigeria. Now, the theoretical framework the work is using is on the cultural pluralism, which advocates for coexistence of multiple cultural identities in a community that have different ethnic groups or multiple identities, how they come together. And the core principles of this cultural pluralism is one of them is recognition of diversity. Like now, Nigeria is a very diversified country with different cultural ethnic groups and a lot of them. With the theory queries if Nollywood in its narratives do their best is the principle of equal participation. We also have respect, and all these are relevant in examining the role of Nollywood in promoting national unity. Now, a little bit of the historical background of Nigeria. All of us know that the colonial Nigeria is ethnically and culturally diverse. We were different nations before the colonial masters came and merged us together into a nation. During the colonial imposition, then the colonial imposition disregarded these ethnic boundaries. They disregarded it. That's why they were able to amalgamate us in the 1914 amalgamation to become a country. Then post-independence, we start having struggles with unity, identity, and integration, which is still here. And we have this secessionist tendency where we have the Biafra, the Ududua, and the Ariwa, which reflects our deep-rooted grievances. We move to the evolution of the Nigerian film industry, which all of us screening of film in Nigeria, where we'll look at 1903 to 1960, where it was colonial cinema as propaganda. They were using it to propagate the British rule. And from 60 to the 70s, we had indigenous filmmakers, people we know that Hubert Ogunde and Ola Balogun. And in the 90s, then we now have the home video when that will link to the living in bondage. Now, from the 2000 to the present, we have digital revolutions and global expansion. Now, coming back to the Wazobia concept and the Nollywood. Then Wazobia reflects inclusive national identity. That is what the Wazobia in Nigeria reflects. Then Nollywood uses pidgin as linguistic unifier. If you read Jonathan Hens, he made mention of that. Then indigenous stories are told through films as modern folklore. Then we have films that explore shared societal values and challenges. Then we have contradictions in representations, in Nollywood representations. Now we have ethnic stereotypes, which persist in some films, and a lot of those films, we have this ethnic stereotype where at times when you see an Hausa man, he must be a gate man, an Igbo man must be a scammer, a Yoruba man must be this. Those are some ethnic stereotypes. Then regional, when in productions, we start having Eurowood, we start having Asabawood, we start having Kannywood. Then we also have digital fragmentation. This digital fragmentation reduces communal film experience. When everything is digital now. You sit at your house and you watch the films. And politics and tribalism influence film narrative these days. Now, coming to the case studies, as in the films, we used 4 films here. The first one is the October 1 by Afalanyo, where in that film we saw colonial legacy and ethnic tension. The film was filled with ethnic tension. I don't know if as we all know the film was shot just a few days or a day to the independence. And there's this problem, there's this case of a Yoruba prince who was getting back to society, chooses to be raping innocent virgin girls. And after the rape, he kills them. Highly ethnic. This film is highly, as there's too much of ethnic tension in the film, signifying that even at the independent, Nigeria is not one at all. So the film is not creating a society that recognizes, because the Yoruba prince, in his raping and killing his victims, killed an Igbo girl and framed an Hausa man, an Hausa trader. And in the process, the investigating the case is suffering for his fellow tribesman. And the Igbo man is a hunter. That part was played by Kanayo or Kanayo. He now had to kill the Hausa man. And at the end of it, it was discovered that the actual killer was a Yoruba man, but the colonial master swept the case under the carpet, that the country is too young for the trouble the truth will reveal. But the paper argues that covering is sweeping the case under the carpet is like sitting on a time bomb, that because the truth will finally come out, and when it comes out, the tension or the conflict it will breed will be more than what it could have been if it was treated the immediate time it happened. Now the second film, 76. 76 tells of a military history and a national trauma, the case of the coup of 1976. And now that film is purely a historical film, but somehow, like I said, consciously or unconsciously, the filmmaker introduced an ethnic bias into the film. He now introduced the soldier that was framed, Joseph Dawa, that was framed. He's from the Middle Belt and he's married to a girl, Susie, from the south, from the east. She's from the southeastern part of Nigeria. Now, despite the fact that they are married and she's pregnant, her father, Susie's father, refused to collect the bride price from Joseph because he considers Joseph an enemy. And the paper argues that that little scene that was introduced in the film is a kind of a trigger that this nation that Nollywood is projecting as Nigeria is not a united nation, could introduce a scene that shows an ethnic tension, defines that Nollywood in its narrative still projects the sense that Nigeria is not really in unity as it's projecting to the world in the concept of Wazobia. Now we have the other film, Lionheart, which is a gender-based business and cultural balance film. Every other person that analyzes this film analyzes it on the context that the film is a film that brings Nigeria together, because Lionheart is a transport company in the southeastern part of Nigeria, which went into a merger with my Kano company and transport company in Kano in the north, and it was a balanced business and cultural outing. But still, in a subtle way, the playwright, the filmmaker, introduced an ethnic bias, where when Adeze and her uncle, that is Genevieve, played which is Pete Edochie, the owner of the Lionheart. For Rosa, he's angry. He doesn't want his company to be merged to somebody in the north. He said no. And he said no is not that it is a bad business. He's saying no is that simply because he's an Hausa man. He said it in Igbo, Onya Hausa Mba. But finally, they were able to convince him. But his initial reaction is no, based on the fact that he's an Hausa man, not based on the fact that it's good business. And again, something was introduced in the film portraying the Igbo person or the Igbo man as a swindler and as a scammer. That is also a kind of an ethnic stereotype introduced in the film. But the film also cushioned it by making an Igbo man catch them in the act and solve the problem. Now, the last film we looked at was 93 Days. This 93 Days is the film that purely demonstrated a unified Nigeria during crisis. It was a film done during the Ebola, the 2014 Ebola outbreak in Nigeria, when the American Liberian Patrick Sawyer came into Lagos and collapsed and was taken to a health center in Lagos, and it was identified that he had somehow he denied that he had Ebola. But the point there is why this portrays a unified Nigeria is that if you watch the cast, they are multi-ethnic. They are from every version of Nigeria, all regions of Nigeria, but no cultural or ethnic or tribal sentiment was introduced in the film. Everybody worked towards salvaging the situation, stopping the outbreak of Ebola in the country. So this very thing, out of the 4 films that we watched or we analyzed for this study, this 93 was the only film that portrayed a unified Nigeria without ethnic bias, without cultural tension or conflicts. So in conclusion, the paper concludes that Nollywood embodies both cultural continuity and discontinuity. That from the films we watched, and that Nollywood can strengthen the nation's identity, but it must address ethnic mispresentations. That it has been identified with 93 Days that it can strengthen the national identity of Nigeria and unity, but it must be that Nollywood must consciously address ethnic representations. And Nollywood can or should harness the Wazobia or include storytelling the presentation. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you.
Are we still there?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Sochima, will you react to as in what I did for Chisimde? Tell me thank you for
Yeah, thank you.
presenting.
Thank you for that powerful presentation. It was quite insightful. Thank you. We look forward
Okay.
to the
Okay.
Q&A
It's
section here.
okay. Now the next presenter should be Sochima. That's
Okay.
you. Okay.
Um,
We don't know if Romanis is in the house now. But if it's not, we take you after we are done, we go back to him. So, but we are
all right.
taking you now.
All right.
Okay,
Let me please.
you can.
Yeah, the host has to let me do that. Lucy, you
Okay.
can
I
you
hope he's hearing us.
I think you can share if you're using the private link.
Okay.
yeah, he said you
Okay.
can request sharing.
Oh, really?
Okay. Um,
Oh,
Well, he can hear us.
okay, yeah, I can share now.
Okay. Okay. Do that.
Can you all see my screen?
Yes, but it's
Can
far.
you see
Maybe
it now?
you zoom. Okay. Yeah, but it's still far. Maybe zoom a little again.
Um,
But just
how about now?
okay, it's all right. It's already full on the screen. We can.
Oh, okay.
All
Hello
right.
everyone. Morning, good afternoon from wherever part of the world you are joining from.
Yeah.
My name is Sima Okafor, and I completed my master's at the University of Mississippi last month. I am a historian. I am also a filmmaker. So today I'll be talking about my work is titled From First Period to Advocacy, Lessons from Sochima Okafor's A Stain of Red. I am Sochima, and I'm talking about my film today, my film on menstrual health in Nigeria.
Okay.
So, of course, I have a poster here for this presentation. Menstrual in Nigeria addressed issue. And A Stain of Red, which is the film I'll be talking about today, emerges as a cinematic intervention using storytelling to challenge period poverty and advocate for menstrual health awareness.
Okay.
This work examines how the film amplifies young girls' lived experiences and fosters both grassroots and policy level changes. So by analyzing its production, audience reception, and cultural impact, I explore how visual storytelling reshapes public health narratives. Now, menstruation is a natural biological process, yet it remains a source of social stigma, misinformation, and economic disparity in Nigeria. Limited access to menstrual products, inadequate education, and cultural taboos exacerbates period poverty, afflicting millions of young girls' health and education. Now, A Stain of Red seeks to challenge these barriers through visual storytelling and sheds light on systemic inequalities surrounding menstrual health. The work investigates how the film's narrative serves as both an advocacy tool and an educational resource that sparks critical conversations on menstrual health policy and cultural change in Nigeria and beyond. Now, the methods. The study employs a mixed method approach, integrating qualitative analysis of the film's theme with audience reception studies. Data sources include oral interviews with viewers, focused groups, and behind-the-scenes reflections on the production process. Additionally, policy documents and historical perspective on menstrual health advocacy in Nigeria are analyzed to contextualize the film's impact. Data analysis. A thematic analysis of A Stain of Red identifies recurring motifs of stigma, access, empowerment, community engagement metrics, audience responses, and social media discourse surrounding the film provides insight into the effectiveness as a public health intervention. A comparative analysis with other advocacy films highlights the unique ways in which A Stain of Red navigates cultural sensitivity with while pushing for systemic change. Now, A Stain of Red is a short film on menstrual health in Nigeria. I researched this movie and I produced it last year to look at some of the health issues that these young girls in Nigeria, go through as a result of period poverty. We live in a country or in a time where economy is so bad, and as a result of that, young girls do not have access to adequate health products for menstrual health. And as a result, they resort to alternative measures. And some of these measures include using fabrics, using plantain leaves, using tissue papers, and all other products that are not healthy. So the essence of A Stain of Red is to bring to limelight some of the challenges that these young girls go through. Now, A Stain of Red kicks off with a story of a young girl, Onome. Onome is a young girl from Iberede community in Nigeria. Excuse me. She prior to her first menstrual experience, nobody had told her anything about, of course, I'll be showing some pictures from the movie. Nobody has told her anything about menstruation, not even from her mom, not from the school. She's a young girl, she's a student, but she had never had anything about menstruation until that fateful day she started bleeding. And she was so surprised. Why is she bleeding? What is really going on? So she had to rush out to her mom because on that fateful day, her mom had gone to market. But this was happening in the night. So on rushing out, she met her mom coming back from the market and she was like, what is happening? I'm bleeding. And the mom told her that, look, it is normal. You are not okay. You're not unhealthy. You are fine. But what surprises the most is how to tell her. I expected a mother who would call her daughter by the side and inform her what menstruation is all about, instead of telling her when a man touches you henceforth, you get pregnant. I was expecting a mother that would educate her daughter at that point, telling her what actually makes a woman to get pregnant, other than just mere physical touch. And she went ahead to give her a fabric to tie on her hand. I see here. She tied the fabric so in case she starts bleeding again, she can use it. She began to reflect. How does a man touching a woman lead to getting pregnant? Onome was asking herself these questions because she can also remember so many times where men have touched her, physical touch, and she didn't get pregnant. And she remember one incident where one of the guys that she went to, she usually they were chasing her, her, she fell and Onome was taken to the hospital where she, of course, received the basic health treatment. But while they were discharged, in the process of getting discharged, at that point, her mom had already joined her at the hospital. When they were about going home, they walked towards the reception of the health center. And Onome seated there noticed something quite unusual. She noticed that young men were walking into the reception and were taking some condoms for free without paying for them. And then she was so surprised because she had not seen something like that before. She was asking, but then at the same time, she was of the opinion that sex is an option. You have sex because you decide to, and of course, abstinence is highly recommended. But why are pads not provided for free for these young girls? So from her first period, she began to advocate who are providing free condoms in hospitals and primary healthcare centers. Because on an average, research and statistics shows that a woman menstruates on average of 400 times in a lifetime. And no one, is it not high time that government or individuals look into this problem to begin to provide pad? And young girls you do not choose to menstruate. It's a natural problem. You do not choose when to and when not to, unless, of course, you're not in your menopausal phase, which is later part of your life. And she looked into problem or the challenges that these young girls are facing. Few weeks ago, I was because there was this young girl in Nigeria who was doing something they called rant challenge, to talk about the problem in Nigeria to call government attention. And one of the girls used her phone on TikTok and said that she can no longer afford sanitary pad. That pad is now very expensive. And then I quickly checked the comment section to know what people are saying. And someone in the comment section brutally said, why not use rags? Why not use plantain leaves? Why are you discussing something as sacred as menstruation online? It is not a UNESCO research that one in out of every 10 girls in sub-Saharan Africa, middle school. And what happens when these young girls miss school because they don't have adequate menstrual health products? Is they miss out of school activities, assignments, and exams. The time they come back to school is a different ballgame. So this is the reason films like Extend of Red and every other movie that advocacy film that addresses some of this issue, is bringing to light unless mother don't even have the adequate knowledge about menstruation. And perhaps what she knows about menstrual cycle is what her own mom told her. So there is no formal health awareness. No one is teaching young girls about menstrual health. And this is not made, of course, they are doing so well. A lot of NGOs are doing well, providing sanitary pads for these young girls, but it's never enough. There is no proper health education doing this now. I know some organizations like Buluzo Foundation that are going around Nigeria, giving talks to young girls in primary and secondary school on adequate menstrual hygiene. So this is a call to action, calling on visuals, film tools, or medium to educate young girls, not just on menstrual health issue, but on any other health challenges, because what we watch and experience sinks deeper than what we read. And this is not me also invalidating or disputing the effect of resources. Of course, they play a vital role. However, I'm suggesting that film, of course, movies like A Stain of Red that is addressing menstrual health problem in Nigeria should be complemented with written sources. Because by the time you watch the film, you begin to see that some of these young girls who use wrapper or who use tissue for menstrual health, they can't even wash these wrappers very well. They are so young, they don't even know how to wash them. And they reuse it all the time, and it exposes them to some health risk. Look at them here in school. When school is going on, they rush out to start itching because they're already infected, right? So how long would this continue? And who are the policymakers? Why are condoms being provided for free for a sex that is an option? Why young girls who do not have the right, who do not have a choice on when and when not to menstruate are being left unattended to? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful presentation, I would say. And like I said, we wait at the end of all the presentations to get reactions to our papers. So I call on, if Simeon is here, I would like to call upon him to present his paper. Are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you
I'll
take
just
the
go
floor.
ahead to share my screen.
Okay, it's all right.
Mhm. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good day, everyone. So I'll be talking about screening sickle cell continuity and discontinuity in Nigerian films. And this paper is a talk about sickle cell disease and some Nigerian films born with sickle cell disease every year. Why millions live with sickle cell traits? Despite its great impact on the public understanding of the disease, it's remain uneven, and most time it is obscured by myths, stigma, and inadequate health education. Whereas in recent years, we have the Nigerian cinema industry, popularly known as Nollywood. They have emerged as a force to reckon with, but also as an agent of public discourse when it comes to sickle cell disease. So this paper explores how Nollywood has portrayed sickle cell disease over time, focusing on three representative films. We'll be talking about Tunde Kilani's Dazzling Mirage, which was produced in 2014, Udrak Obong Patrick's Strain, which was produced in 2020, and Yabo Ojo's Not Again, which was produced last year in 2024. So I'll be using content analysis framework, which is grounded in African cultural studies and its communication theory. So the paper investigates the continuity and discontinuity in the representation of sickle cell disease in Nigeria. And the aim is to assess how these cinematic portrayals reflect and sometimes reinforce challenges the prevailing cultural attitude and public health narratives, and how they engage with broader socio-political themes such as healthcare infrastructure and the colonial legacy of the disease. So this framework, Nollywood is often hailed as for their immediacy and emotional resonance and their richness in African lived experiences. And when health conditions such as the sickle cell become the subject of a film storytelling, they kind of intersect with popular and cultural beliefs and most time moral discourses and communal anxieties surrounding the disease. So this paper draws on cultural studies theory, medical humanity, and post-colonial critique to analyze the role of Nigerian cinema in public health advocacy. Particularly, it emphasizes film power to mediate between representation across time. So continuity refers to, for the sake of this paper, continuity refers to persistent truths, messages, or narratives arc across the three frames. Why discontinuity highlight changes in the focus, the tone, and the ideological representation that these films are emphasizing. So the first film I'll be talking about is Dazzling Mirage, which talks about the burden and the battle of sickle cell disease. It's a film adapted from Olayinka Abimbola Igboari's novel with the same title, Dazzling Mirage, and it was directed by Tunde Kelani. The story follows the story of a vibrant young woman navigating the challenges of life, love, and career while living with sickle cell disease. So the film powerfully dramatizes emotional and social burden of this sickness, especially the tension between individual desire and societal expectation. So on the trope of continuity, we see stigma and shame. Fumi will oftentimes try to conceal our condition in many instances, especially with our co-workers, reflecting real-life stigma attached to sickle cell disease. So another thing is family and marriage pressures. So the film tried to portray how familiar anxieties about genetic compatibility oftentimes override the autonomy of those living with sickle cell. This is shown in the way Sonya, Fumiwo's long-term fiancé, cheated her due to the pressure from his mom not to marry someone with sickle cell disease and the love between them, despite the love between them. So another thing is the misconception about sickle cell disease. So there's a traditional belief and myth that emerge as obstacles to awareness. And other misconceptions are the general belief that people with sickle cell disease cannot live a productive life or have a family, as seen in the case of Fumiwo in Dazzling Mirage. So a lot of people also see sickle cell disease as a curse. We also see this in the case of Fumiwo, where our co-workers think, oh, maybe she has been caused or something. When it comes to discontinuities, we see the preoccupation of hope and agency. Unlike the general belief that sickle cell disease is a death sentence, Dazzling Mirage offers a message of empowerment and resilience, and the inclusion of health professionals in the film the film tried to incorporate health workers in a nuanced way, offering biomedical insights. And this is a complete discontinuity from the initial ways most people in Nigeria saw people with sickle cell disease as Abiku or Banje, or people that are born to die. Well, who is born to live forever? So Kilani film marks a shift from tragic fatalism to an optimistic yet very realistic engagement with sickle cell disease. It also calls attention to health communication, particularly the gender implication of living with a chronic condition in Nigeria, because there are always going to be questions about childbearing and all of that. The second film is Strain, which was directed by Uda Kobong in 2020. It talks about family as a battlefield and sanctuary for when it comes to people living with sickle cell disease. So the story revolves around a working class Nigerian family with a child diagnosed with sickle cell disease. And the film tried to foreground the emotional, financial, and most time the psychological toll of managing sickle cell while eliminating the resilience of caregivers. So on continuities, we see psychosocial stress. Unamdi and Yemi Ezeji, who are parents of Ekene, the child born with sickle cell disease. In the film, they struggle to avoid medical assistance, medication, and they try to navigate health institutions and maintain emotional stability at the same time. This has always been the fate of parents of children living with sickle cell disease, even before the introduction of orthodox medicine in Nigeria, when most children living with sickle cell were regarded to as a Ogbanji or Abiku. So healthcare inefficiency is also one continuity we see. Hospitals are under-equipped, reflecting the real systemic shortcoming in Nigeria health sector. So we also have the continuity in stigma and isolation. The child is bullied at school, which kind of highlight the social alienation common among young people living with sickle cell. Giving birth to children with sickle cell will not only bring stress to the family during now and even during the pre-colonial time, and even during the colonial time, but other households within the community will try to, as much as possible, not to marry from such families so that such calamity, they believe, will not befall them. And on discontinuity, we have community support as redemption. Unlike earlier narrative, Strain introduces community and church-based support network. It takes support of Unamdi's dad to finance the bone marrow transplant, which is another breakthrough that finally set Ekene free in his sickle cell crisis. I see this as a case of continuity returning after a period of discontinuity, because traditionally, Nigerian, like many other African society, was deeply communal, especially when it comes to approaching illness, including sickle cell disease. So most time, community collectively support each other when it comes to managing such ailments. However, the introduction of Western value brought about this individualistic lifestyle that also influence how people manage diseases. Strain highlights the importance of returning to communal approaches in managing genetic disease like sickle cell. And this suggests that for us to progress as a society in eradicating sickle cell from our communities, we need to revive our community support. And the last film, it's not again produced by Iyabo Ojo, directed by Iyabo Ojo. It's a film that talks about mother's trauma and the ethics of reproduction. Iyabo Ojo tried to represent this film tried to represent a recent addition to the corpus of Nigerian film that talks about sickle cell. It tells the story of a young lady, Olautan, who loses a sister to sickle cell and is now faced with the dilemma of continuing her marriage with a pregnancy that might also result in a child with sickle cell disease. So the film emotionally charged and reflects on exploring themes of reproductive choices, trauma, and cultural silence. On continuities, we have maternal guilt and sacrifice. The burden of care most time is always on the woman. It falls mostly on the woman. Olautan witnessed how her mother sacrificed her own life and the family's happiness to care for Ayo, her sister, who lived with sickle cell disease. In the end, they lost Ayo after years of painful crisis. Having witnessed this prolonged family trauma, Olautan resolved never to settle down with anyone who carried the sickle cell trait, as she is a carrier herself. However, Theodora deceived her by claiming to be AA. She only discovered it was actually AS weeks after becoming pregnant with his child. Now, we have continuity on religious fatalism and medical rationality also. So the tension between religious faith, like saying, oh, we can get married because you are AS and AS too, God is going to do it, and medical counsel remain a major narrative arc. Then we also have discontinuities on bioethics and genetic testing. The film tried to introduce conversation around genetic screening, medical technology, and reproductive rights. Then we also had advocacy through celebrity casting. In the film strain, Iyabo Ojo's personal connection to the cause as a director, because in real life, she is an advocate for sickle cell disease, infuses the film with activist energy. And not to forget the role of Remi Surutu as Abimbola, the mother of Olautan and Ayo, who sacrificed her entire life and mental health to take care of Ayo, who later died, introduces a deep sense of personal connection and realism. This is particularly poignant because Remi Surutu's first daughter also died from the complication of that are related to sickle cell disease. So North again represents a critical evolution in sickle cell representation, which kind of blend melodrama with urgent bioethical question, and it reflects the growing counseling and cultural reluctance of people to talk about sickle cell disease. So in conclusion, uh, Nollywood as a public health medium, they try to portray a Nigerian film, sickle cell disease, as both the enduring cultural scripts are seen and the disease and the emergent possibility of seeing films as a possibility and as a tool for social change. These films examine Dazzling Mirage, Strain and Not Again reveal how Nigerian cinema mirrors challenges and shapes public perception of illness. They are also just passive cultural artifacts, but they are active participants in national public uh, discourse on health. Nollywood ability to reach vast and diverse audiences make it a potent space for advocacy. However, I think more deliberate collaboration between filmmakers and health experts and also community leaders are needed to ensure accurate and empathetic representation. I think by pushing these boundaries of storytelling and introducing lived realities of people, this film offers a template for health-centered storytelling in Africa. In screening sickle cell, Nollywood does not they does more than narrate pain. They kind of offer pathways for healing, knowledge, and salt. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for that insightful paper on sickle cell. So I don't know if we have Romanius in the house already. Do we have him in the house or online? So if we don't, it's time for us to time for the Q&A session. If we have it mustn't be a question. It can be a contribution. It can be something that will enrich the paper. The floor is open for questions. If we are online, we can drop the question in the chat box. And if the question is coming from the audience, the host can help us anchor that. Is the host there? Busoye, are you still there? Can he still hear us?
I think he can because I can see the audience.
Okay. Okay. You can see them?
Yes, like from the
Okay.
screen here, I can see Busia. The ladies are the audience there. It's
Okay.
the camera that shows the audience in the
Okay.
yeah.
Then we are expecting questions, reactions to the papers presented. It seems Romanis didn't show up. So if there's any reaction, even from the panelists, if you have reaction to the different papers, you can bring it up, or if it's a question to any of your fellow panelists, you can bring it up, and we wait for the house to get questions from the house. So yes, should be able to help us to coordinate the questions from the house, and those online can drop their questions on the chat box. Thank you.
While we
Kashima,
wait for questions,
yeah.
while we wait for questions, I would like to say that if anyone is interested in watching my film, I can share the link. You can reach out to me and I will share the
You can
link.
share the link on the chat box.
Yeah, I don't know if
I
everybody
think
can.
I'm interested.
Okay.
Okay.
Sachin, I'm interested in your films. Even I'm interested.
Okay.
Okay, let me put it in the comment section.
Yeah,
In the
put it
chat.
there because people that are interested might not say so, but they're interested. Like me, I wish to watch the film too.
Sachin, I will reach out to you through email also for some other things.
Okay. I'll be expecting that.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. Okay. Let's speak up. Okay. Okay, but so you said there's a question the person can pick up. Let us hear the question, and the person the question is directed to, or the paper will give a reaction to the question. Can we hear the person?
Yeah, the link to the movie is on the chat now. So
Okay. You said there's a question. Let the okay. We are expecting the question, Busoye. You said there's a question. Can we hear the question? I don't know if you can hear me.
I don't know.
Sure you can hear me. There's a question, but we are not hearing anything.
I don't know. I don't know why they can. Maybe it's network or something.
Maybe he said there's a question. We can't hear them, and I don't know.
The question is in the Q&A.
Can you hear me?
I don't know if I can read it.
Can you hear now?
Okay. Yes, we can hear. Okay, we can. The network. Okay. Basically, it's just waiting for connection.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes,
Yeah, we can hear you
we
now.
can.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Thank you for quite insightful. My first question goes to Mr. Dr. Kissy. Why you represent the labor movement? So I didn't get to hear half of your presentation, but you talked about and what it's all about.
Hello, badly.
Now, the second title says,
Ihe o mekwere m ka ịjụrụ question.
I can hear
Akwa m
you.
nyere gị
"Open up to know more about the change in people apprenticeship system. How was that exhibited in the film? And what theory did you use to analyze that?" I didn't hear that part because the network actually went on.
Waiting for connection.
Okay, I was in the presentation and suddenly it went off. The change in the development. What we actually created is what I know about it. So how about the change? Can you tell me about it? The second presenter, Dr. Murray, you talked about the Nigerian and the Wazobia concept. I want to ask, this is just a paper presentation. Why did they actually 4 fields? Don't you think it's too much? And secondly, in expounding on this Wazobia concept, what role for the role of language in telling us more about or you look at cultural actually exhibited what language, cultural, just this. Okay, then to be I don't know what to call your paper, also ethnography or a reflective filmmaking. Because let me say more about so I understand in also ethnography or that there's an issue with balancing your personal perspective and objective. So how do you balance your personal perspective? You are the one actually did everything about it. Balance that. Let us know about that. Then ethnography and understand the methodological concept. Sorry, methodology used in this particular paper. Therefore, my last question. The last question is implication of the fine Nollywood and thank
Okay.
Sorry.
I don't know if I got any question because I couldn't hear anything.
Just breaking. It's just breaking.
I'm Sochima. Your question is on the Q&A. I think you have 2 questions there. Check the Q&A section. Q&A.
Okay. Okay.
How do I give reactions?
Even in the
Have you seen
Q&A,
it?
I cannot see anything.
I
don't
can
know.
see
even
someone
access.
asking.
Please, if you can see it, can you read the question for me because I can't.
Okay, the first question here is saying group subject for filmmaking. So the questions are: where are your characters from?
Dr. Maureen, please,
Yes.
can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear. Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes.
Yes. Did you hear? Did you hear questions actually?
No.
I did not get her questions, but I know she was asking me something on Wazobia. Is it language or? Please But we heard you. When she was talking, it was breaking.
Okay, my question is to you.
Okay. Okay.
What aspect did you focus on to bring out this concept of Wazobia? Is it the language or the cultural heritage? Language or cultural heritage?
Is the culture, not the language. Cultural heritage, not language. Not language. Cultural representation. Not language.
Dr. Ihom, I didn't hear my own question. When you are done, repeat my question.
The concept of, sorry,
let us try to have a...
All right, I think the concept of unity is what you talked about in the concept.
Yeah, the concept of unity. Let me, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Now, the paper is focused on Wazobia as in Nigeria, one Nigeria. The representation of one Nigeria in Nollywood. That is what the paper is about.
So
how
Nollywood
is Nollywood propagating?
How did you bring that out? If Nollywood is actually propagating it, how did they
Did I bring out of the movies? Can you hear me? I'm hearing now. Continue.
Okay, yes. If Nollywood is actually
I can hear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. If Nollywood is actually propagating it, or you want to check whether Nollywood is actually propagating it through their films, how was it exhibited? How was it expressed? Is it through the language or through the cultural heritage? Which did you focus on to bring out that concept of Wazobia? That's what I want to know.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, what I brought out in the paper is how these ethnic groups were portrayed as in togetherness, portrayed them as one Nigeria, as people from a country. Like the film, I said 93 Days. In that film, there was no ethnic tension. Everybody worked together as one Nigeria. But in the other film, in 76, 76 is a political film about the coup of 1976. But somehow the filmmaker introduced a cultural bias, depicting that this country, Nigeria, is not really one. I am looking at the representation of a one Nigeria, because the concept Wazobia is, the way I'm using it is a concept that presents a unified nation. Although Wazobia is just Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, but on a broader scale, it portrays a one Nigeria. How is Nollywood portraying a one Nigeria in this crisis that Nigeria is? Because there's a lot of secessionist movement, a lot of separatist movement, the Biafra, the Igbo, and how is Nollywood saying that this country, Nigeria, is one? Is it continuing Nigeria, or is it showing a kind of divide in Nigeria? That's what the paper looked into. And the films that were read in that angle. Unity in Nigeria and disunity. Okay.
Okay, it's fine. Thank you.
I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, it's fine. Thank you.
Because we're particular about language or cultural heritage.
Yes.
But I didn't really look at language or cultural heritage. I was looking at a unified nation as in presentation of ethnic biases. Like I said, whether consciously or unconsciously. At times it's unconscious or it's being introduced. I don't know. Maybe another person should answer. Have I answered to an extent?
Yes, you have. Thank you so much.
Okay, you are welcome. Let other persons answer, because Busoye just said we have 7 minutes left. Please, Chisimdi, can you react to your question? Chisimde, are you there?
No. He's not here. He's gone.
Simeon. Okay. Simeon, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
If you have any question to react to, can you please do that?
I don't have any questions to react to. I think Sochima
Yes.
is going to be reacting to some questions.
Okay. Sochima, please do.
I don't know if the person that asked the question is still there, so I can
Chima,
respond.
please look into the
But
chat.
Just respond
Question
to
and
the
answer.
benefit of everybody.
Look into the question and answer.
So
please.
okay, so the first question I got was where are my characters from? And where the Onome's mom is wearing a fabric that is not from where she's from. My characters, this is a fiction film, and of course it's situated fictionally, it is situated in the Berede community in Delta State. And the name Onome, I didn't choose that name because particularly where she's from. I just like we're talking about here, not trying to stigmatize or kind of show that cultural divide in the works we do. So I try to incorporate my work like that. Or Onome is an Urobo name, but Iberede, the Onome and the parents are living in Iberede community. When you watch the film, you understand better. And then the fabric that the mother tore for her, it wasn't a cultural thing. It happens to be one of the clothes she was wearing when she went to the market, and then coming back and her daughter was bleeding and she quickly had to tear that out and give her. So I don't know if I explained that. Then when it comes to the next question I got is how come she knows so much about sex? She has so much about sex and she doesn't know anything about menstruation. So the thing is that on Ome's case, she's of the case of late menstrual cycle because she was already 16 when she saw her first menstrual cycle. And one would ask, because of course it's natural. Some people see their menstrual cycle very late in their life, some very early. And when you watch the film, you see that she's right. Like she's already grown, she's in secondary school, and of course, these girls talk about sex and everything, but she had not experienced menstruation, right? She hadn't, and no one talks about it to her. It's very normal. When I was conducting my interview, I had so many young girls who I interviewed about 44 young girls, and out of them, 30 of them are still living with their parents, and not just their parents, with their mothers. But their mom never mentioned that to them. Yes, the things they know about menstruation is what they say in the movie or what their friends tell them about. But my message is that she doesn't have the adequate knowledge. She doesn't know anything that is adequate about menstruation. And that was why she got so scared the very first time she experienced that. Because even though she has been hearing about that, it was not, it was just like, well, I say it wasn't something she could understand until it happened to her. And then when it happened to her, she didn't know how to handle it. That was why she was now questioning how does a man touching me will make me pregnant. All of that.
Okay. Thank you, Sochima. I know we just have 3 minutes left but I'm happy that we're able to at least deliver the papers within the time given and be wrapping up now. I don't know. I don't think we have any other question okay. We have any question from the house, but if we do have any other reactions from to the papers, the email addresses of the presenters on the program, we can still reach out to the different presenters. It's not only questions that we can pose to the presenters, we can also give a different perspective, the way we think the paper can be enriched. Like the person that was asking if I looked at it from language or cultural heritage, it's something that triggers some things. You get it? That there's another way, there's another perspective. If you didn't really look at it this way, you could look at it the other way. Because it's a paper, and papers presented here are always papers in progress. And please, to everybody, we email the presenters with our own suggestions, see questions and observations. So if any other person has anything to say, but we just have 1 minute to leave. Okay. Yeah.
What I want to say is I want to appreciate you all for being here and having you all on this section. If you're also interested, there is a panel discussion of my film on Friday where some scholars will be discussing it, and then I'll be the respondent. So you can check the program. Just type a stain of red on the program. You see it's happening on Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, and the panelists are in Lagos. Yeah. Thank you.
It's all right. We will join. And again, I want to say congratulations for
Thank
graduating.
you.
Okay,
Thank you
last
so
year
much.
we were in the same panel in Lagos. I remember that
Yes.
we presented in the same panel. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I say thank you to everyone for making this panel lively and interesting with our insights and our paper presentation. I say, I don't know if Chisimdi is still there. Thank you for joining and making your presentation. Sochima, I've already said thank you, and I say thank you
Thank you
to
too.
Simeon. Thank you for
Right.
presenting the paper on sickle
Thank
cell.
you. Bye, Simeon.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I everyone. Busoye, I think we are good to go. Thank you for.
I was the archives. Yes, I went to National Archives.